Do you find that when it comes to dating, you are depleted, you are disheartened, you've given up, you feel very demotivated, and it just doesn't seem to work out for you? Do you find that regardless of how much effort and time you put into something and how much you love the person and you go out of your way to keep them happy, that somehow you end up being abused, used, disrespected, and it just falls apart in the end? Your time's been wasted, and you just feel like you're doomed to attract these kinds of relationships. Now, if you've been one of those people, then this video is for you, because we're going to look at the ways that you can avoid getting played. There are certain things and 5 tips that I can give you guys to help you avoid being in that situation and not waste your time on any other person that is there to just use and abuse you and then drop you when it doesn't suit them. If you haven't been to my page before, welcome. I'm Hamasa, and I look at personal development, mental and emotional well-being, as well as day-to-day issues. So please subscribe to my channel so that we can stay connected and you can keep up to date with my content. And please introduce yourselves in the comments below. I'd love to get to know you guys. Now let's just dive in straight away. Relationships have been a hot topic ever since COVID, and I find that with having so much time spending at home and just either being away with you from your partner or being just on top of your partner, that all these little things are happening, and a lot of people are having issues and things that they just want to discuss. Hence why I'm just going to dive into it and get to the point and give you these tips. The first one would be to not turn a blind eye to any of the red flags. So whatever seems like a red flag to you in your new relationship, or even if you've been with someone for a while, or even if you've been married to someone for a long time, this sort of thing isn't so much about the time scale. Nor is this video aimed at women alone, because a lot of guys also struggle with this, where their female partners are playing these games or doing these things. So this video is for everyone. Just wanted to point that out. And that if you see any red flags that you feel that's not okay to you, they're breaking your boundaries, they're not making you feel good, this is something that you don't want to accept, please address them. Most times in relationships, people are too scared to address what they don't like or to discuss it because they're too fearful of what they may find if they dig deeper. And also they don't want a confrontation, they don't want to rock the boat, and they're just like, if I kind of turn a blind eye to it, then it will go away. But that is the basis of setting yourself up to get played, because you're seeing what the issues are, you've noticed the red flags, and yet you're avoiding the situation. You are not addressing it or dealing with it. So you're setting yourself up for failure, because eventually those red flags cannot be ignored. When you allow these things to happen under your nose, the more he or she will continue doing it because you're facilitating it. And so these red flags will grow, get bigger and bigger. So if you don't address them, that's on you. You're allowing that sort of behavior and you're facilitating it. So if you see any red flags, you've got to address it for a few reasons. One, because you've got to see whether it is correctable. Some of those red flags is just in the person and that's just who they are. But sometimes they may not necessarily know that it's a red flag to you, and they may just be going along with it. So it's your job to let them know that this is not okay with you. And like I said, sometimes they're fixable and sometimes they're not. But either way, you have to know where you stand. So it's important for you to bring it up. By bringing it up, it does not mean that you go there all guns blazing, attacking and just saying, you did this, you did that, this is a red flag, I'm not okay with it, because that's not going to resolve anything. The one thing that is going to help you is to have an open, loving, respectful conversation about things that are concerning to you and things that you're not happy with. Most times they're rectifiable because, like I said, people come from different backgrounds and upbringings and lifestyles, and life experiences. And so what's okay for you may not be okay for them, and vice versa. It just takes a bit of communication. But if you've mentioned what's a red flag, you've had the conversation, and they either get very defensive and attack you, or that it just kind of falls on deaf ears and is dismissed, then that's a bigger red flag for you to consider. And it's probably time for you to pack up shop and leave if it's something that's not okay with you, because it's not going to get any better. My next big tip for you guys to avoid getting played would be to express your wants and needs and desires in the relationship. You need to let the person know what you're expecting out of this and what is it that you want. Now, just because you're not getting that straight away, just because they're not doing it and taking initiative, doesn't mean that they're out there to play you or to waste your time, or that they're not that interested. Because there are times where someone really wants to love you or is loving you, but they just don't know how to correctly love you. They don't know what it is that you want to receive. And if you don't tell them what you're looking for, then you're left feeling very sort of like just deflated and unexcited, if that's even a word, just bored, because it's just like a mediocre relationship that's plodding along. You guys are probably together because of just emotional attachment, but really neither one of you is really getting what you want and need out of the relationship. So if you don't express what you really want, and you don't let your partner know what is it that you need, how you need to be loved, what you need to feel secure and reassured, and then feel annoyed that they're not giving you that, then that really, you have your part to play by not expressing that. If someone really genuinely loves you and wants to be with you and wants to make an effort to keep you happy, when you express your needs and wants in the relationship, then this is a great place for you to get some clarity whether they're really there to be with you and make this work, or they're just wasting time and having a bit of fun and just playing with you. Most people that want to love you, when you tell them what you want or what you need in the relationship, are willing to make an effort towards that. It may not happen overnight, again, because people are different. People express themselves in different ways, and doesn't mean that just because they don't have the wisdom or the initiative to do that themselves, that they don't necessarily want to. So once you've communicated that, you then need to take a step back and just kind of see whether they're taking that into account and making that effort. And if they're not making that effort, if your wants and needs are dismissed, invalidated, just laughed at, gaslighted, then you kind of know that this person is never going to meet your needs. And so should you really be wasting time and giving this person so much when they're just not wanting to even give half of that back to you, even after you've told them? So it's important for you to establish what those are quite early on, discuss them, and see if you guys are on the same page. Otherwise, you could be on completely different pages, but the attraction's there, the lust is there, and so it's like a trauma bond. You're sticking around and you're not happy, and nor is your partner. You're just wasting each other's time. The thing is, most probably, which I'm guilty of doing, is that I feel like, well, you should know better. And if you don't, then you don't know, then it's not my place to cheat you, da-da-da-da-da. But in reality, that's not really the right way to think, because you're kind of allowing the other person to freestyle the relationship without giving them any pointers. And you feel like by doing that, you're seeing their deceit and you're seeing what they're really about. So if you're waiting to see what they'll do wrong so you could see what type of person they are, you cannot draw out deceit with lies. And by saying that, I mean that if you're not open and honest about what you want from the relationship and your needs, then you're not being honest. So you're being deceitful as well. And you're kind of lying to your partner to see what they do. So really, it's not really helping anyone. So you can't draw out a lie with a lie. You've got to be open and honest and see what they would do with that. And if they're deceiving you after you're open and honest, then you know what you're dealing with. But if you're going to play games, you're going to get games back, and it may not even be intentional. So in order for you to avoid putting yourself in that situation, be honest and open. If someone really truly loves you, none of these pointers that I'm talking about will really scare them, because they probably want the same things as you. And so every time you guys have these discussions, it's just getting you one step closer to the next stage of your relationship. But if that person isn't ready for the things that you want, or isn't willing to give you the things you want, every time you bring up any of these topics, then you see that they're never going to meet your standards or meet your needs and wants. And therefore, you have a better clarity to make a decision whether you want to continue putting your time and energy into this relationship, or whether this is not the right person for you and you need to just cut your losses and move on. But at least you are in control of making that decision. My next tip for you guys would be to start asking the questions. My one motto in life usually is, if you don't ask, you don't get. So it's important for us to ask. If they say no, or if they don't agree with you, again, you have clarity and know where you stand to make a well-informed decision that concerns your future. So that's why asking the questions may be quite scary, but it's very necessary for you not to waste time. And by asking questions, I mean, like the first one about red flags, it's not about just attacking, or it's not how you ask these questions. It's not about what you're asking, but it's about how you're asking these questions. So if you make your partner feel comfortable and you do it in an open, loving way, and these are things that you genuinely have concern about, then it shouldn't be an issue. And by questions, I mean just going a little bit deeper. It's not just about you seeing red flags and pointing out what they're doing wrong, but it's about pointing or discussing things that will affect both of your futures. Like, do you want to have kids? Now, let's say if you really want to have kids and your partner doesn't, and you've been with them for a year, and then a year later you've worked out that they don't want kids, at that point you are now emotionally attached, you're bonded, you thought you've had found the one, and yet they don't want the same things in life as you. So you've now wasted a year and again feel depleted and disheartened by the whole relationship. So it's important for us to ask the important questions and ask them when it feels right for you, about whether they want to get married, about whether they want to go traveling, have kids, all these things that are important questions that most people kind of avoid because they feel like, oh, this will scare them away if I ask this now, and da-da-da. But again, if someone really wants the same things as you, someone is really on the same page as you, I know I keep repeating myself, but these are the reasons that we don't do these things, because these are the kind of questions that we're really scared to ask, and these are the kind of questions that will really help us avoid wasting our time or giving our heart away to someone who doesn't really want it. So that's why it's important for us to understand that if we ask these questions and this scares our partner, they weren't right for us. So they need to be asked, they need to be addressed, they need to be dealt with. And if you overcome those hurdles, then you two are great. You're on the same page, you're not going to get played, and you're going to have great communication to resolve if anything is thrown at you. But if you can't make through these little things, then it was never right for you in the first place. My next tip would be something that's not very popular with a lot of people, and is to set deadlines. Now, I know that you can't set deadline on love and relationship and da-da-da, but why not? You have to know where you're going. You cannot commit to someone and just waste time years down the line. If you, for grown, I know that you, for grown adults, you don't really need more than 2 years, if that, to know whether you're going to spend the rest of your life with someone or not. Because I understand that in certain cases, if you're young and you're trying to establish yourself and you're trying to find yourself, etc., then in that instance it's not very easy to kind of make a commitment very early on. But if you guys don't want the same things after 2 years of being together, or you're not sure whether you want to spend the rest of your lives with that person, then chances are that you're not really in love. It's more a relationship of convenience, of habits, of emotional attachment, but not really something that could glue you or hold you together for the rest of your lives. And in that instance, then you're really wasting time, because as humans, it's not natural for us not to grow and not to evolve and not to get to the next stage. So that's what we do as people, be it with someone or alone. Life moves on, nothing waits for us. So you can't be stagnant in a relationship just because and just be with them if you don't have a deadline in your head. Again, 2 years may be right for me and may not be right for you. Every person has a different deadline, but whatever your deadline may be, have that date set in your head and see where it goes and see if it's growing in the direction that you would like it to grow. If it's not, and it's stagnant, and you guys are on different pages, and you guys want different things, and you can't even address these things and issues and talk about them, and they're not sure about you or you're not sure about them, then these are red flags and things for you to bear in mind, that you're probably wasting time here. And so a deadline is important. Like, how much time could you waste? How much benefit of the doubt could you give this person? So give yourself that deadline and try and kind of make a decision or no. It doesn't mean that you're necessarily getting played, but it's just that if you don't discuss these things or you don't really have these intentions or goals in the relationship, then what's the point of being in one anyway? A good example for this would be if you did an internship somewhere or did job experience. And so you're working there and your time's kind of coming to an end and you're asking them, so what's it gonna be? Where do I stand? And they turn around and say, we think you're great, you're doing a great job, you're working really hard, and we would love for you to continue working like this for us. However, we can't offer you the job and we can't give you a salary because we're just not ready for that yet. Would you stay? Would you carry on? Would you continue working? That's the same thing in relationships. If you don't set deadlines and ask them where this is going, where does it stand, am I going to grow in this, are we going to move forward, then really you're allowing someone to receive all the benefits of being with you, of loving you, of you giving them that love back, but it's not really progressing in any direction. So just remember the work experience analogy and see, is that the sort of situation that I want to be in? The last tip for you guys would be that if you want to get into a relationship and avoid getting played and have your time wasted, then you've got to heal yourself. You cannot go into another relationship with the baggage of what your past has done to you or what your ex-partners have put you through. That is a huge piece of the puzzle that people miss out. What do you bring to the table and what are you capable of seeing and accepting? Because most times you end up being resentful to the people that you're dating now because of what happened in your past. And so from being the victim in one relationship, you end up being the villain in another. And nobody deserves that. So it just goes into a vicious cycle. You get hurt, you hurt other people. And one, nobody deserves that. And two, that's not what you want to be doing, I'm sure. But because you haven't healed your past traumas and everything that's made you feel a certain way, you are going into relationships or meeting new people or whatever with a distorted view and perspective on situations. You're not seeing the world in the correct way. You're seeing it from a place of hurt, upset, resent, and so you are just projecting that onto your other relationships, other partners. And I always say that if you don't feel it, you don't heal it. So you need to be able to feel those things, face them, deal with them, and then start afresh with someone else. If you take that time to work on yourself, to feel better, to feel more confident, to not be fearful of being alone, to not be scared of being by yourself or not being dependent on anyone else, will only enable you to attract the right sorts of relationships and the right sorts of partners who are healthy and happy, just like you. If you're not needy and dependent on someone, then you don't put so much importance and emphasis on them. And so one, it takes off the pressure, and two, your partner also knows that they don't own you. You are there because you want to be there, but if they're not around, you're still fine. There's nothing that you need them for. You're only around because you want to be around. And so they have a different respect and perspective on you, and you avoid getting played or you avoid wasting your time in yet another dead-end relationship. Now, I know that this is a lot, but like I said, it's not about just going out there and finding the right person. There are certain things that you need to do, you need to work on, you need to be aware of for you to then attract the right sorts of people and situation into your life. And you can't project whatever's gone wrong with you on your partner and expect them to come along and fix it and make you happy. That's not how it works. It always starts from here, and then what you put out there, you always get it back. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. If you have, please subscribe to my channel. I would love to stay connected with you guys. I would love if you could like and comment on this video, and I will see you guys again here next week with some new content. Thank you for watching. Mwah.